Section 3. You will hear a conversation between two college students, Jamie and Alex, who recently completed their internships at different science laboratories. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 26.
Now listen and answer the questions.
So, Jamie, we need to summarize our work experience in the lab. How was your experience?
It was fantastic, but setting it up was a bit of a hassle actually. The lab was quite far, and I had to take public transport every day. I wanted a longer placement, but I could only get one for 3 weeks.
I was lucky, my lab was close to campus, so commuting wasn't an issue, but finding a lab that matched my interests was tough. I had to send out a lot of emails before I got a positive response.
Yeah, many labs don't have detailed websites. I found mine through a professor's recommendation, but it wasn't easy. I also had to go through a lengthy application process and an interview.
My lab focused on microbiology. I really enjoyed working with bacterial cultures. One time, I had to prepare a series of agar plates for an experiment. It was meticulous work, but very satisfying.
Did you do it alone?
No, the lab technician guided me through it. It was a bit tricky, but I managed. It felt great to see the cultures grow and know I did it right. I also got to observe some antibiotic resistance tests, which was fascinating.
That sounds cool. I worked in a biochemistry lab and we were studying enzyme kinetics, and I got to assist with some of the tests, and it was really interesting to see how enzymes work in real time. I also learned how to use a spectrophotometer and analyze the data.
My lab also had a project on enzyme kinetics. We used spectrophotometry to measure reaction rates. It was fascinating to see the results and understand the underlying processes.
Did your lab have any other projects?
Yes, we also worked on a project involving DNA extraction and PCR. It was amazing to see the DNA bands after gel electrophoresis. I even got to troubleshoot some issues with the PCR process, which was a great learning experience.
My lab did something similar. We extracted DNA from plant samples and ran PCR to amplify specific genes. It was a great learning experience, especially when we had to optimize the conditions for the reactions.
I was surprised by the amount of safety protocols we had to follow. Even simple tasks required careful attention to detail. We had regular safety briefings and had to document everything meticulously.
Absolutely. Safety is paramount in the lab. We had to wear lab coats, gloves, and goggles at all times. It was a bit overwhelming at first, but I got used to it. We also had to follow strict protocols for disposing of hazardous materials.
Did you have any memorable moments?
Yes, one time I accidentally mixed up 2 reagents, and the experiment had to be redone. The supervisor wasn't too happy, but it was a learning experience. I also got to shadow a senior researcher for a day, which was really inspiring.
I had a similar experience. I miscalculated a dilution, and we had to start over. It was frustrating, but I learned to double-check my work. I also got to present our findings at a lab meeting, which was nerve-wracking but rewarding.
Overall, it was a great experience. I learned a lot and gained valuable hands-on skills. I feel more confident in my abilities now.
Same here. It was challenging but rewarding. I feel more prepared for future lab work and research projects.
Now look at questions 27 to 30.
Now listen and answer the questions.
Now, they also expect us to make some short comments on last term's modules. Shall we start?
Sure, how about the molecular biology module?
Honestly, I found it quite challenging. The concepts were complex, and there was a lot of memorization involved.
I agree, but I enjoyed the practical sessions. The hands-on experiments helped me understand the theory better.
What did you think about the biochemistry module?
It was okay, I guess. I found the lectures a bit dry, but the lab work was interesting. Learning about enzyme kinetics was fascinating.
Yeah, I liked that part too, but if I want to be 100% honest, I was surprised by how much detail we had to remember about metabolic pathways.
True. What about the genetics module?
It was undoubtedly my favorite. The section on genetic engineering was particularly interesting. I enjoyed the CRISPR-Cas9 experiments.
Same here. It was amazing to see how we can edit genes. The ethical discussions were thought-provoking too.
How did you find the analytical chemistry module?
It was tough. The techniques were complex, and I struggled with the calculations. Rewarding when I finally got the hang of it.
I felt the same. The chromatography experiments were my favorite part, though.
What about the immunology module?
I loved it. The immune system is so intricate and fascinating. I enjoyed learning about how vaccines work.
Me too. The case studies on autoimmune diseases were really eye-opening.
Overall, I think the modules were well structured, but some were definitely more challenging than others.
Agreed. I feel like I learned a lot, but there were times when it was overwhelming.
Yeah, but I guess that's part of the learning process.
Definitely. I'm looking forward to the next term and seeing what new challenges we'll face.